In Japan, there's a word that some people may not be familiar with: Daimaru. It refers to Tokyo's Otemachi, Marunouchi, and Yurakucho areas, taking the first kanji characters of each. The total revenue of publicly listed companies based in Daimaru reaches $1.1 trillion, nearly a quarter of Japan's gross domestic product. It's in Daimaru that a certain initiative is now expanding. SDGs. Various efforts are underway to achieve these sustainable development goals. May, an event was held to further bolster such moves, the Nikkei SDGs Festival. The aim was to promote discussions on the future of the planet and the world economy. Sustainable City Tokyo, our post-COVID future, the Nikkei SDGs Festival 2021. The Nikkei SDGs Festival was held over 5 days from May 10th. The presenter for this program is Miki Baba, the first woman editor-in-chief of business magazine Nikkei ESG.
The area is the center of the Japanese economy and financial businesses, after all. It's a place where there are fantastic commercial facilities, and people can work energetically.
The festival this time was held across various venues in the Daimaru areas of Otemachi, Marunouchi, and Yurakucho. One of those was the Nikkei Hall in Otemachi. As a state of emergency was in place, organizers considered postponing the festival, but held it as scheduled with thorough anti-COVID measures. Ms. Baba was actually one of the presenters at the event and joined a discussion with corporate heads of sustainability strategies. Among them was one person seen as a key figure in this session, Ken Shibusawa. He's a descendant of Eiichi Shibusawa, who established 500 or so companies in his day and is known as the father of modern Japanese capitalism. After working at a foreign financial institution, he set up a fund called Commons Investment Trust. The theme of the discussion was deeply related to Eiichi Shibusawa. SDGs from the perspective of the Analects and the Abacus. One of Eiichi Shibusawa's most well-known books is The Analects and the Abacus, which outlines his lifelong management philosophy. It begins with this phrase: "The Analects and the Abacus are worlds apart, yet inseparable." His idea was to allow things on opposite extremes to coexist. The Analects are the teachings of Chinese philosopher Confucius on morality and public interest. Meanwhile, the abacus is a word relating to the profit of businesses and individuals. Eiichi Shibusawa stressed the importance of combining these two opposites, saying one must not neglect humanity and morality for the sake of profit. He believed true prosperity was only achievable through the coexistence of the economy and morality.
The Analects and the Abacus is the heart of Eiichi Shibusawa. But it can also be expressed in one word. Eiichi Shibusawa wanted to say, let's harness the power of "and." It's not either, but both the Analects and the Abacus. It's why Eiichi Shibusawa is called the father of modern Japanese capitalism. But he didn't use the word capitalism. He called it Gappon Shugi, or a capitalism of joint ownership.
His idea of Gappon Shugi was for everyone to join forces for not just individual, but also public profit. People moving forward together to create prosperity for both country and society.
What Eiichi Shibusawa said was to combine the Analects and the Abacus. I believe the meaning of this message was the pursuit of sustainability. Combining these two leads to sustainability. He's saying that however prosperous a business leader may be individually, if the majority of society becomes impoverished, that happiness will not continue. What you can see from that is Eiichi Shibusawa's Gappon Shugi, the importance of each and every single dewdrop. The dewdrop can mean money, but also reflect the desire for an even better society or actions towards that end. When each dewdrop is collected together, they can become a great river to carve open a new age. I think that's what he envisioned.
Thank you very much. Right now, many companies are pursuing SDGs and ESG sustainability. They are undertaking bold efforts related to the analects aspect of that. But I've conducted many interviews, and I get the feeling that there are many people who aren't entirely convinced as to why private businesses, or individuals for that matter, really need to carry out initiatives to address the issues of SDGs and ESG.
Many companies actually carrying out such initiatives appear to be unsure about how to move forward.
As a company, we're aiming to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. And to practically apply the analects, we're discussing how to create value for society. And we believe we need standards to make those efforts more visible and to better evaluate them. But it's been quite difficult for us. I would greatly appreciate any ideas and suggestions you may have.
Ms. Kondo, thank you very much. The output of economic activity and metrics of that can be easily quantified. The trend now of such activities is called impact accounting. Around the world, moves have just started to incorporate social and environmental impacts into the accounting structure. When thinking about this together with Eiichi Shibusawa's The Analects and the Abacus, we need to also think about the idea of big ambition and small ambition. It goes without saying that big ambition and small ambition can't be contradictory. In terms of SDGs, there are 169 targets and 17 goals. The idea is to achieve and build on them. On the contrary, there's the now widely talked about idea of a moonshot, of backcasting. You can have your big goal, your big ambition, and by backcasting, you can get to your small ambition. What's important to you, what you're aiming for, is probably your big ambition. But what Eiichi Shibusawa is saying is to check whether your day-to-day small ambition is contradictory. He's saying that is what is important.
Mr. Shibusawa, thank you again. Looking back on our discussion, what are your thoughts?
When talking about the Analects and the Abacus, we tend to think, let's do something good. Let's do something that's right through capitalism. I believe many people have that image in their heads. Naturally, that's exactly true. But I don't think that is the goal. It's only one method. The goal is to create a world that's more prosperous and sustainable. To do that, the Analects themselves are naturally not sufficient, much less the Abacus. By combining them, we can create the new value we've been talking about. It's easier to understand when you break them apart, but then you can't create a chemical reaction greater than the individual parts. It's difficult to say or understand how we can harness the power of and. Maybe nothing will happen when things are combined. But if the conditions are right, a chemical reaction can occur and there's a possibility that a new material will be created. By repeating the possibilities, I believe we can create an even more sustainable economy and society.
It appears that because of the pandemic, we're seeing some especially sharp divisions in society. And so by utilizing the power of and, people and regions, everyone can become more interconnected and spark that kind of chemical reaction to create new value.
Eiichi Shibusawa proposed the idea of Gappon Shugi, or a capitalism of joint ownership, of joining forces to realize a prosperous society. Companies in the Daimaru area are also coming together to launch various initiatives. We visited one of them, Mitsubishi Estate in Otemachi.
This way, please. Wow, this is nice. This is our corporate cafeteria. Impressive.
すごいなんか SDGs の
I see you have signs for SDGs.
これはちょうど今の期間に合わせてこういうふうに SDGs を
What exactly have they started at their corporate cafeteria?
B の酢豚で
I'd like the B meal of sweet and sour pork and white rice.
がっつりとしたありがとう
Thank you. Looks delicious.
テレビに映るかなテレビに
Can you tell what this is? As you can see, it looks like regular meat.
That's right. This isn't meat. It's a meat substitute made from soy.
I'm going to give it a try. It's good.
本当に普通のお肉と全くない
It's really no different from regular meat.
ような印象を受けますこれは本当に
Is this really made from soy? Yes,
今回その、大豆
it's soy meat.
ところで、富士
And
山という
we developed this menu with the cooperation of Fuji Oil.
をして
This soy meat was developed by commercial food producer Fuji Oil. Protein extracted from soy is processed into fibers to give it a texture as close as possible to real meat. Livestock farming is considered one of the causes of global warming. Burps by cows and other livestock contain large amounts of methane gas, which has a strong greenhouse effect. It's said that 14% of greenhouse gases emitted around the world come from livestock. The company wants its employees to better understand this situation while also exploring the possibilities of new types of food. It took on the challenge of changing the mindset of employees from the cafeteria, a place they use every day.
それぞれ日にちごとにですね
Every day we carry out various plans. We don't ask them to replace everything with soy meat, but instead, maybe do that with one meal a day. We want everyone to know that this can help us achieve our SDGs.
Efforts such as this are expanding in a big way in the Daimaru area now. Under an initiative called Act 5, many firms are taking various actions toward achieving their SDGs. There are experiments to reduce food loss and moves to utilize express buses to transport agricultural and marine produce from outlying regions to the city. This May, another initiative was launched in the Daimaru area.
この大門
I heard something new was started in this area.
はいそうなんです
Yes, we started a program to support actions taken daily in the neighborhood towards SDGs. We have an application called Act 5 Member Point. And when users patronize cafes and shops in the neighborhood and bring their own drink containers or reusable shopping bags, we offer them credits for activities toward SDGs.
It's a system to reward shopping points through a dedicated app to people who take environmentally friendly actions, such as using reusable drink containers and shopping bags.
はいじゃあこういった形
It's read like this.
はいこちらで今
I just received 10 points.
Users can also earn points by participating in events held locally. The points collected can be exchanged for so-called ethical products that are considered environmentally friendly. SDGs from start to finish. One of the most important SDGs is addressing the problem of climate change.
President of the United States.
There are now moves around the world to address this pressing issue.
We have to take action, all of us. And this summit is our first step.
In April of this year, U.S. President Joe Biden hosted the Leaders Summit on Climate. Participating countries are starting to take bold action.
the United States sets out on the road to cut greenhouse gases in half by the end of this decade.
Japan also announced ambitious targets. It said it would aim to significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 46% from 2013 levels. We spoke with Professor Yukari Takamura, a leading expert on climate change who also participated in the Nikkei SDGs Festival.
The world is rapidly decarbonizing toward carbon neutrality. The question is whether the Japanese economy and Japanese industry can respond to that. In that sense, it's necessary to properly identify the changes in the world and set clear goals to transform yourself. It's a big challenge, but I believe it was necessary to put this into practice. What you're saying is that it's not simply about sacrificing yourself to conserve energy and reduce CO2 emissions, that there are actually business opportunities and sources for growth. Is this something that you see countries around the world pursuing and further developing? This is a big change, and so, if you're unable to respond to the change well, it might instead pose a risk to your business. But at the same time, because it's such a big change, it could present opportunities to compete and enter markets where you once had few prospects of winning in. I believe key to that is technological innovation. What aspect of innovation in decarbonization do you have your eyes on? There are two crucial perspectives in terms of innovation. In terms of carbon neutrality, of not emitting CO2, it's a field where there are no solutions now. For example, in areas requiring heat for which there are no alternatives to electricity, even in the transportation sector, it hasn't been easy to switch to electricity. In these new fields, research and development of new technologies, innovation, and decarbonization solutions will be crucial. The other innovation that's needed is in areas where we actually have technologies, but have been unable to drive adoption, or maybe because they haven't become widespread. Costs haven't come down. Promoting greater adoption of those technologies will help reduce emissions. We need to implement innovation policies with these as the two pillars.
Finally, we asked Ken Shibusawa, a descendant of Eiichi Shibusawa, about his view of SDGs.
There's a general tendency in Japan to see these 17 goals and 169 targets and feel the need to achieve each and every one of them to be considered a success. I think maybe we need to take this on with the heart of a child, in a more pure form, and say, it'll be great if we can do it, or let's give it a try. I believe it's okay to aim for these SDGs with that sort of mindset. I say that because we only have 9 years left. When 2030 comes around, there will undoubtedly be the next issue we need to address. So in that sense, it's not about achieving a goal and stopping and patting yourself on the back. Other things will come up one after another, which means we need to constantly set our sights high.
We only have 9 years left, after all, and I'm sure companies will accelerate efforts to achieve SDGs through their businesses, or through finance and the economy. I hope to be reporting with a sense of joy in 2030, when the world has changed for the better.